black people.
Okay. Hold on. Detroit's a perfect example.
And I understand. Damn. When you look at Tulsa, Oklahoma, as an example, when Tulsa, Oklahoma, wealthy people, and I can show you in New York, the same thing happened in Clydesdale. When wealthy, affluent blacks who were highly educated moved into wealthy white communities, there was huge white flight. Well, why? Well, one of the reasons that they said is, why are we going to allow the Negro to move into our communities? Next thing you know, one of their sons will be dating our daughter. There's an entire study on it from New York Times that was done roughly about 50 years ago, where they went to all these middle class and affluent communities where black people were beginning to move into, and also they came back post 1970 and did the same thing. And this is what white people were saying, that we don't want to live there because our daughters will be marrying their sons.
But see, the thing is,
I think it's because they feared that their television would not still be in their living room when they got home. I don't think it had anything to do with their daughters. I don't think it had anything to do with their daughters.
Poor, and that's your low IQ response because you lack the range to be able to understand the data that was actually done and the research that was done over 50 years of research of this.
But see, that's not all of it. And he's talking about Detroit. Now, that's 2 miles away from where I live right now, okay? And so what you see happen was, okay, they had a city that was the wealthiest city in the United States, okay, and they had like these guys come up from the Great Migration, and it turned into a hellhole. And so like all the white people moved out of there. Detroit is like 90.
Okay, this white person needs to speak for 1 second, and then you guys go back to arguing nonsense. Adams, MG, I'm out of here like Batman's underwear. You guys want to keep it open?
Yeah, keep it up, JB. What's up?
All right, I'm out of here. Good night,
everybody. JB, you know what I told?
Good night, JB.
JB, I'll be honest, you know, and we're going to talk about that TikTok shit tomorrow, too, JB. I got you. But I told Mojo, until a lot of the original things are handled, you know, the original sins of America are handled, we're going to forever have to have these conversations, JB. I hate to say it, bro.
Hey, hold on, JW, I'm using my white privilege. Can you respect my white privilege, please? Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to wipe my ass with it. Kane, I love you like a fat kid loves cake. Adams, be well. MG, my favorite person. Good night, everybody.
Good night, Jay.
Now go ahead, JW.
Good night, buddy. He's okay. Hey, but really, so build on that, because you were saying something that was kind of hitting to the truth right there. You were saying, like, you know, the people who, I keep hearing you say about people who's coming from the South and coming to Detroit or Chicago or everywhere else they went in the Great Migration. But I don't think you're telling the other side of the story.
They were trying to get away from black people.
No, huh? We're talking about the black migration. What are you saying?
They were following the white people that were trying to get away from them. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. White people leave and then black people follow. That's exactly what happens in America.
No, sir.
Oh my gosh, Dr. Adams. What an insult.
People had to leave the South. They were sharecropping. They were basically still enslaved. Okay?
Yes, correct.
Okay, I just want everybody to read. There's an area called Gangstown. Just one book. Gangstown, Illinois. And they had the whites that were living in Gangstown, Illinois, post-1970. And they had black people who were far more educated, that were far more wealthier in income than the whites that lived in this area. And they renamed the thing Pars Aber or whatever. But these white people said, hey, why are you leaving? Why did you leave the area? Said, hey, the Negroes are moving in. Said, well, these Negroes are way more educated, have more money than you guys. They're moving into this area because they can get a better house, more land than they could in the town center area. And said, yeah, well, we don't want to live amongst them because next thing you know, our daughters will be bringing their sons home. So this had nothing to do with like poor blacks moving into uneducated poor blacks moving into a working class or middle class white community, and they had to run because they were bringing their violence and degeneracy. These were educated. Many times these were educated affluent black people moving into these areas.
Hold on a second. Hey, yo, God, how are we going to talk at the same time? We have an audience. Please, let's respect the audience and let's get some decorum, man. Who want to jump in there? Go ahead, Tom.
Tell your co-mod to stop talking to those people that racist ass coon shit though. Like he's antagonizing the conversation, not letting it go anywhere. That's it.
How am I antagonizing the conversation? I'm simply pointing out that white people leave certain places when black people move in. Then when the white people leave, the black people tear up the freaking neighborhood. Well, so now the white people are gone. Why is the neighborhood torn to shit? Well, maybe that's why they left.
Everything isn't like Compton, Dr. Adam.
I'll be moving out of this neighborhood. Now, how about that? You know, you just don't want to be around people that you're uncomfortable with. And that's whether you're black or white. If a bunch of raggedy ass black people came living next door to me, I would be fucking moving. That's just life. What are you talking about?
Yeah, no, here's what happened. I'll give you an example. Howard Stern tells this story, right? The neighborhood that he grew up in, it was predominantly a white Jewish community. And when black people began to move in, he noticed that the whites began to move out, right? See, he said they were racist. However, what ended up happening was you had developers that are investors that came in, they started to buy, non-black investors, they started to buy up all the houses for cheap because black people were moving in. The speculators came in and devalued the property. Real estate speculators came in and devalued the property. That allowed for investors to come in, buy up the houses, and then rent them out for cheap to poor black people. Rent them out for a premium to poor black people, gouge poor black people, but not actually fix up the property. So now they become slum landlords, and then what ends up happening is that the city shifts the resources, right? The city resources from that community, and they shift them to white communities. So they stop fixing up the streets, they start fixing street signs, they allow potholes to arise. City services become dilapidated, trash is late, so trash picks up over a course of weeks, and it becomes a bona fide slum. And this is what he witnessed, because when his parents moved to the area, it was a predominantly white Jewish area, and it was pristine, clean, all of that. But as soon as they did what they did by buying up the homes and then renting them out and not taking care of the property, and then devaluing the property, and then city services then is essentially cut off from that community, over time it turns into a slum.
Well, or maybe the city got tired of putting good money after bad. Why am I going to allocate funds? No, but why am I going to allocate funds over to a
Hey, yo, abracadabra, please let Dr. Adams... Hold on a second, y'all. Because the thing is, if he's so wrong, why not let him finish? I'm led to believe that what he's saying has validity because you're triggered. He lets you speak, and every time he begins to speak, you talk over him. So if he's wrong, let him be wrong. The truth will be there when he gets back. Dr. Adams, please.
So why should the city continue to throw money into districts, good money after bad? If you have certain districts that are occupied by certain groups of people that are tearing that motherfucker up, okay, the city puts a bench, then somebody's knuckleheaded teenager comes behind it with a spray can and freaking graffitis it. Okay, this is the type of shit that people don't listen to, where city starts looking at their expenditure regardless of who lives there and says, hey, it's a useless cause to keep dumping money into a place that the people who live there treat like a dump.
Let me ask you a question, Dr. Adams. Have you heard of the black tax? So the black tax is essentially the mechanisms around the black taxes where, as an example, when black people, wealthy black people would move into a suburb with middle or upper middle class whites, and then whites would flee, city services were cut off from that community. So now black Americans are forced to pay their property tax, to which their property tax dollars are being diverted to white neighborhoods and white communities. And then black people are forced to raise money collectively in terms of their community to pay for city services, like fixing up the roads, payment of the roads, fixing light fixtures, fixing the stoplights and things like that, because city services have cut off because the city council members don't see black people as human, and so therefore they don't see the need to fix the roads and help maintain that community by using the property tax dollars that those people are paying. And in fact, they're so racist
they take those black dollars and they divert those black property tax dollars to white neighborhoods. They don't fix the schools, so then black people are forced to either fix the schools themselves or put their kids in private schools. So you had situations where you had communities that were 96% black, mostly affluent, and blacks, and then you had like 92% or 94% of the people in the community sending their kids to private school because the city stopped paying and investing in the public schools in that community. And then what they do is they bust kids into those communities from poor neighborhoods, and the kids in those poor neighborhoods get to go to those schools, and then those schools get a reputation for being a school for ghetto kids, which greater runs down the property value in this affluent black neighborhood.
Well, which is why the white people who live around those private schools and the public schools that those black kids are bused to, those white people are slowly starting to move again. So let's see what happens in another 25 years.
But this has been going on for 50 years.
Yo, chill, man. Yo, Adams, man, why you letting this guy off the hook so easy, man? Why aren't we talking about the Democrats, being against school choice? The same shit that he's crying about. Why aren't we talking about the Democrats being against school choice? Why aren't we talking about the fact that these Democratic-run cities are shitholes with like single-digit, literacy rates and shit like that? Fucking Chicago, every public office of consequence is held by a black person. And let's look what the fuck is going on out there. This shit it's really, Lightfoot before this current mayor, fiasco after fucking fiasco. This shit is and then, of course, it's going to let's blame the white man. Everything's the white man's fault. America's racist as fuck, but we're going to depend on the racist America to teach our kids. This shit is just dumb, man. It's embarrassing.
You know what, people? Anthony is not FBA for the record. He is not.
He's not FBA for the record. He's not FBA. And he was born in America. He only identifies as a black man. If he gets pulled over, I don't have my non-FBA card to show them. I'm not like those other Negroes. What the fuck, man? This shit is
So I've been waiting to jump in.
I'm gonna let B-Mon jump in, y'all, please.
Thanks. I watched this video that came up on my feed today. It was an interview with Malcolm X, and the reporter asked him. He's just like, "So, do you think we're making some progress?" And he goes, "Progress," and he goes, "Stick a knife 9 inches in my back, and then pull it out 6 inches isn't progress. Pulling it out completely isn't progress. What's progress is when you pull it out and you allow the wound to heal, and we still have the knife in the back, denying that it's there." And I thought that was interesting because that's kind of how I feel. That's exact. I am so surprised that nothing has changed in however many years, because that's exactly how I'd still explain it. I think we have a system, right, that's no longer de jure, but it's de facto, of what so many years of propping up one community while pushing another community down. And then we want to think we're against something like reparations. I understand the language is frustrating. Some people will say, "Oh, well, you caused it." If a Black American is telling you caused this, you should fix that. That could be frustrating for white people, right? Because I didn't cause it, and then they get this sort of fatigue, like this. You know what? I'm not even going to deal with this. You think that I caused it? I didn't do. I'm just living my own life. I'm not going to fucking help you, right? And that's what I see that happens a lot when I try to talk to reparations about to people. But I wanna just give an invitation out. Reparations. You don't have to. There's no. You don't have to take responsibility for the harm that you didn't cause. That's not. Fuck that, right? You didn't cause it. No problem. But where you are responsible is what's happening right now. Where is the knife right now? We have a cyclical system that is we have like this, it's impossible, we were just talking about like just housing. We could talk about how housing discrimination and redlining moves into how the schools are not going to be, we're going to have underfunded schools.
30 seconds, ma'am.
We're going to have the school to prison pipeline. That's going to lead to more over policing. That's going to lead to more unjust sentencing, right? Shit with the criminal justice system. 50 to 80% of Black Americans being taken off juries, right? How are you supposed to 20% more harsher sentencing than white Americans with the same exact background? Then of course, if you have unjust sentencing, worse backgrounds, you're going to have less economic opportunity. You're going to have less money to do things. You're going to have worse health disparities. There's going to and more economic disenfranchisement. And then it's just going to continue to cycle and cycle and cycle. So my final plea is, if you're a white American, I'm not talking about Black Americans, because no offense, and this is just mathematical, you don't have any say in the system that is the white America. Okay, you don't matter. You're not making the decisions mathematically. I'm gonna
let her land. I got you. Shout out to the General Plantation.
No, she just keeps on lying, dog.
She landing it.
Right. I'm trying. Black Americans, you don't have any say voting. Mathematically speaking, plurality rules, the way that voting happens, it doesn't happen. It's completely on the majority, the dominant power in society, and that's white Americans. If you're a white person and you vote, you have a moral responsibility to fix this and to repair it, because you're walking in it and you're benefiting from it today. It doesn't have to do with your ancestors. So fucking just pass it and stop being votes in a way.
All right, cool story. Yeah, so it's ironic to me that, like, this young lady is talking about Malcolm X. Here's the truth of the matter. It will never be enough. People will never be satisfied. If they said tomorrow, okay, $1 trillion, it still wouldn't be enough. I mean, it's like...
What do you base that on?
Bro, because right now...
Are you saying, like, psychologically, Black Americans it's impossible that they're going to be able to watch a balance?
Hey, guys, we've got a one mic policy here. With all due respect, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we hear you.
Thanks, man, appreciate it. Yeah, Beamer, I really appreciate your input into the conversation. Was actually really interesting, but Anthony was trying to just respond. Anthony, sorry.
Thank you, Ro. I appreciate it, brother. Yeah, so as I was saying, listen, it will never be enough. There's a certain segment of people who will never be happy. They will always blame other people for their circumstances. They will always be dissatisfied with their lives. When you have someone like a Whoopi Goldberg, who is going to sit down there and talk about how she's oppressed, how oppressed she is. When you have people that's going to say that Shedeur Sanders was the victim of a modern day lynching, and compare his circumstances, multimillionaire, to Emmett Till, this is what they're going to compare Shedeur to. You have people that are permanently brain dead. It's sad. There's nothing you can do to help them. You just have to accept that this is their plight and move on. I don't expect that.
Let him finish, JW.
I gotta ask him a question.
JW, I got you. As soon as he finishes, ask him the question. Go ahead, Anthony. Go.
Thank you, man. It's lucky I'm driving, bro. It really is. So, listen.
JW, come on, man. We trying to have a good discussion, man. Come on, man, brother. Come on, Anthony, go.
Yeah, thank you, man. So, ultimately, there's just some people that are going to be casualties of war. That's the reality of it. They're just stuck. And there's nothing you're going to be able to do to help them. They're not even going to be a part of the conversation. They're perpetual losers. This is their starting point. I'm going to land right
there. JW, you got a question? Hold on a second, y'all. JW, you got a question?
Do you think that this is exclusive to black people?
No, this is a completely unhinged person who has disdain for foundational black Americans. A lot of people who are non-FBA, they grew up in households who were very xenophobic towards us. They already looked at us as inferior. And so when they grow up, they get on platforms and they spew their hatred for my particular ethnic group. And they think because they have U melanin, high concentrations of U melanin, that somehow gives them the right to attack my community, my ethnic group, or because they were teased as children. A lot of Caribbeans and Africans were teased by black Americans and others. They grew up with this resentment towards us. So anytime they get an opportunity to attack my ethnic group, they will do so. And they do it again under the guise of, hey, I have high concentrations of U melanin, so I can do that.
I just wanted to respond to Anthony real quick. You know, I appreciate your response, but it's a non sequitur. It's a straw man. You didn't address like what I'm actually saying. You're saying, oh yeah, there's always gonna be people that are gonna be, you know, it's never gonna be enough. Those people, it doesn't matter whether they're there, because it doesn't logically invalidate the moral obligation to repair what is the measurable harm that is in the system that we live in. Okay, so it doesn't matter. They're going to exist, and also in the last bit, they're human beings. They're going to die off, and it's up to us, right, the new generation, to provide opportunity and to repair that real measurable harm today. Remember, and I just said that, and it's intergenerational, right?
Can I maybe offer something here, Anthony? Yeah, thanks. I'm just listening with an open mind. I don't see that either of you are wrong. I don't see that either of you are actually right. I'm sure there's actually some middle ground that regardless of who you are, this conversation, this dialogue could actually find a middle ground and say, you know what, you're right, Anthony, or you know what, you're right, Beamer. Try and find where that middle ground might be, and we might be able to get it like a progressive conversation going here. What are your thoughts?
But so Anthony's unhinged because he doesn't even qualify for reparation.
Yes, so Bima, as it stands right now, right? I fundamentally am opposed to reparations. I don't see like any kind of middle ground where you and I are going to meet and have a better understanding, all right? And for the record, I've been married to a so-called FBA woman for 20 years. Our household will benefit if there weren't any reparations to be given. All right? Now, this idea that, people need to be paid for past harm, that, they need to be paid for slavery and they were never slaves, and they need to be paid by people who never owned slaves, it's offensive. It's offensive. What people need to do is to move on. I know multiple people that never graduated high school, and they're 7 figures. I know one person's actually 8 figures deep, never graduated high school, and he's black. How is the system so stacked against him? That story is not supposed to be possible. The way you guys describe America is as though it's some kind of caste system. Your destiny is predetermined. You are stuck.
Hang on,
this is your...
Anthony, I want to ask you, can you steel man her position?
I'm not sure what you mean, Rohan. I would think that me stealing a man in her position would be like lending support to it. That's what my perception of steel manning.
Okay, so my
people go and kill every single German after World War II? No, that never happened. So why is it okay to even insinuate that's okay for any group of people to assassinate and murder?
So they lost huge amounts of money. And so the whole system unraveled because everybody was trading these instruments with this bad debt. So massive amount of bad debt that was hidden in these instruments that were A-rated. That's what happened there. And it wasn't accountants that were involved. It was literally bankers that put all this together. and that's what happened. I mean, there was a movie that came out years ago. Did you? It's a good movie, and how one of the guys from one of the banks, no, not one of the banks. It was a smaller financial institution, like or trading, commodities trading, or or investment group. They were in the same building as one of the big banks. One guy came in and thought he was in the wrong office, and he mentioned something, and then realized he was in the wrong office, and then he left. And one of the guys, and this was like a 6 or 8 man operation, and the guy that came in was going to like Lehman Brothers, or I don't know, one of the major banks that was in the building. But anyways, he left, and it sparked the interest of one of the guys that was there, and he started doing some digging, and then he actually went down to like Florida and realized like these strippers, literally strippers, were owning 5 or 6 homes each. And then he unraveled the whole thing, and then it started creeping out. And then like Lehman Brothers, I think Lehman Brothers was in the movie, where the president or the CEO, they didn't know about any of this stuff. They had no idea. And then they started investigating it, and they found that the investments that they held, most of their investments that they held that were worth billions of dollars, were worthless. So what they tried to do, and they did, is they started selling off all their investments the next day, and selling them off at a discount. And then people started realizing, why the hell are they doing that? And then people started looking into it, and then the whole thing crashed down. And no joke, no lie, I knew a guy. He was average, working class. He retired. He went to Vegas because Vegas got hit really hard. He bought, I don't know, like 6 or 8 houses for $40,000 or $50,000 a piece, and these were $1 million homes. Mm-hmm. And he was living in one of these homes. He retired down there. The rest he rented out. He literally has, and he told me, I have horse stalls for horses, and I have maids' quarters, and I can't afford neither. But he says, I love my house. But literally, the guy, he worked, he owned a cafeteria, and, he didn't make much money. I mean, he probably made $100,000 a year, $80,000, $100,000 a year.
Yeah, a lot of people lost money, but a lot of people made money as well.
Well, he didn't make any money. He retired in 2008.
What I meant by they kind of bought things on the market that were kind of really below market value. Like, for example, the houses that were $1 million homes for $40,000, $50,000.
Yes.
That is a bargain.
Yeah, it was. He did it not because he wasn't planning on doing it. He just saw, wow, these houses are cheap, and there were.
The banks were trying to offload them, weren't they?
These $1 million homes were hit the hardest because they're the ones that these people, middle class, who wanted, and it's always the middle class or upper middle class that want to live wealthy. Yeah. So they're the ones that mostly bought these exorbitant, homes that they could not afford, because that's the nature of the middle class and upper middle class, at least here in the U.S. And that's one of my problems when I was in accounting, and that's why most people are liars, because a lot of them, 9 out of 10 of them, their lives are fake. Like, I was shocked to find out.
Yeah, it's keeping up with the Jonases.
I was shocked. I was like, wait, I'm in a much better financial position than any of my clients. But they have these nice houses. They have these expensive cars. They take vacations all the time.
It's very similar to England. A lot of people they live a lifestyle they can't afford because a lot of it's on finance.
Here too. It's insane.
This happened with, hi guys, and this is what you're talking about. So when COVID hit, so I have I know some people from a friend, whatever. She's on the hospital, whatever. She's up there, a director of the hospital, so she knows about surgeons. These surgeons, of course, they make a shitload of money. Okay, so of course, every home, everything they have, they can afford. But once COVID hit, surgeries, they couldn't do surgeries, and they were getting paid accordingly. So now the bankroll wasn't coming in. The stress that they were in was enormous. One person, when they told me their whole situation, I looked at her, I'm like, are you crazy? She's a dermatologist, husband's
Wait, why the stress? You missed something there.
the stress she went through, because let me tell you what it was. They had, like, you know, pretty, not just a regular home, this is a pretty large home. They had kids in private school. They, you know, had a very expensive lifestyle that they could afford as long as money kept coming in. They had vacation homes,
That's called paycheck to paycheck.
Properties.
Yeah, that is paycheck.
This mentality can exist in people that do earn a lot of money.
That's what I'm saying. Upper middle class, Ace. They are the biggest. They are. I mean, I had to deal with them, and they are in such denial over. You know, I'm telling them, look, you can't do this. This is how you're going to look like in 6 years. And I would do the projections. You will be in this position in 6 years. You will not be able to pay for, you know, your summer home. You're not going to be able to pay for your kids' college. You're just not. You have to change, and they would not want to. They can't, because their neighbors, you know, have a nice house. I mean, these people, I can tell you, when I was younger, I was around 16, 15 years old, when the recession hit in the U.S. in the early 90s. People were moving out of their homes in the middle, you know, upper middle class, in their nice $500,000 homes, you know, which was expensive back then, in the middle of the night, without telling their neighbors, friends, family, anything. Moving out in the middle of the night because they were so embarrassed, and moving out of state.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, these people are...
so much for the American dream.
No, the American dream was the middle class. The American dream was my parents. When they came to the country in the late 70s, my father was an engineer, and, you know, within a couple of years, we owned our own home. We, you know, had 2 acres on the river, and within 10 years...
I don't think the American dream is specific to A class of people. It's because everyone can have an American dream, which looks very different to each one another. Because, like, you can have a homeless person that has an American dream to have a normal house, 4-bedroom, whatever. And then you can have a middle-class person that has an American dream, which is a multi-million-pound mansion. It's still the American dream.
Yeah, but the
American,
guys, hold on. The American dream is what it is what, I mean, I agree with you in general, but what it is you can attain things where in other countries it seems unattainable. Not that you're able to earn more income, it's the fact that the amount of leverage and amount of money that gets loaned to you. You can lease this, lease that. People, found out, I'm so shocked that people finance furniture. They lease furniture. I'm like, what the? Lease furniture. I mean,
but
that's
furniture.
That's not really the American dream that how I would describe it.
No, that's the way your description of how you feel. But
No. Okay, let me put it this. That's not the definition I would use for an American dream. What you're saying is more like the American trap. When I say American dream, I mean someone who is that is working class, that works, you know, blue collar jobs, that is able to afford to pay for a home and raise their children without struggling.
Yeah, but American dream is American trap. The American dream is you go to school, you get an education, go into debt, then the next thing is you buy a home.
But that's the American trap. But the American dream, the American dream is what I grew up with. My parents.
Your perception.
No, that's not. No, that's not a perception. The American dream died when the middle class got squeezed down to where there's barely a middle class anymore. When there was like a work, like a working / middle class. The working class was considered the middle class, where you can work at a factory or at a blue collar job and still make enough money to pay your bills.
Of course.
That's all it was.
Well, university education usually meant that you're going to get a high-paying job, and that would open.
Yeah, then now you're in the realm of upper middle class. Now you're in the realm of making it. But the American dream was to be able to afford, just by working a normal job. And this is true. You should be able to have money in just a normal job. You should be able to afford a house, and you should be able to afford to buy a normal house.
Yes, but people still pursue it, but they just do it with over-leveraged.
But houses now.
Financing.
But up until 2000 or so, houses, like my cousins and my family, we all bought homes between $80,000 and $110,000, which is a 4-bedroom house.
Years ago.
Now it's the same house. Their houses, everybody's houses, is over $500,000. That's the same exact house.
Parking spot for 110 these days.
No, that's what I'm saying. So, the American dream is gone.
Yeah, but hold on, Edward.
Now it's the American trap.
House in 20 years is not going to be worth even more. Does that usually happen? I mean,
what? Say it again.
The real estate appreciates, right? I'm not surprised that $110,000 home is not happening.
No, but
the issue is the income disparity that there's become more.
You're right, exactly. So Ace, right, real estate appreciates, right? So is your income is supposed to your income is supposed to keep up with that appreciation. Now here, and I don't know, where you've been in America, but like for example in Connecticut, here. An average 4-bedroom house, in the suburbs, maybe a quarter of an acre of land, a 4-bedroom house that's 60 or 70 years old is going to run you $400,000 to $600,000.
That's still very.
And the reason is because all the BlackRock and all these companies are literally buying up all these homes.
Let me tell you. So I East Coast, right, Toronto to New York. Suburbs, let's say Toronto area, right outside of the city. A 4-bedroom, half an acre, you're looking at over $1 billion in the suburbs. 1.5, 1.6 million. That's what it is. In Toronto, New York is even more expensive.
Well, New York is expensive, but everybody from New York flooded into Connecticut over during COVID too, and that raised the prices.
$400,000 to $600,000 for somebody for the same thing in Canada, let's say, the West Coast, or even California versus New York. They're gonna say that's
well, okay, but in New York, you're getting paid double.
It's not expensive; it's ridiculous.
But in New York, you're getting paid double. Now, it is expensive still in New York, but you're getting paid double. I know this because here in Connecticut, Fairfield County, where I grew up, everybody worked in New York. They got paid twice as much and came back to Connecticut to buy their homes. That's where they live.
That works for them. But if you're living in New York City,
I'm very sorry.
Paid double? Does that do anything because of how expensive it is?
Home punishment? Yep, this is it.
Yeah, same thing. It's not proportional. But same thing here in Connecticut. It's not proportional. It's not proportional anywhere. You can't be a factory worker, and this is where I say the system has failed. If you can't be a factory worker, I use the word factory worker to mean all blue collar jobs, right? And be able to buy a house, then the economic system that we're using is not working.
White collar can't even do that now. Let's just keep that.
I know. Right? Exactly. It's insane.
See, they all have terrible accountants like you.
No, I was good. I dealt with truckers, by the way, General mostly.
Mm-hmm.
They were good. They were decent truckers, but owner operators, yeah.
Within the last 6 months, I was just generally looking for property in the US, in particular Texas. I mean, Texas has some cheap property, like it's of a good standard. Like it's basically a mansion, and you can get it for less than $500,000.
Yeah.
Where though? Like, are you in the middle of nowhere, or in Texas?
No, they would like new communities, the new builds.
Yeah, Texas is cheaper.
Well, to
Texas
be
is
fair,
cheaper.
guys, real estate's on sale across the board. People right now, it's a buyer's market. It's a buyer. Oh yes.
Not in the U.S. What do you mean?
Yeah, it is. Look at it.
No, it can't be. I would have heard about this.
It is. I know this for a fact. It's a buyer's market. It's not a seller's market. Look at how long properties stay on. Like, it takes forever to sell a property. You're not even getting.
Where are you looking? Where are you looking? Here in Connecticut, the people are getting into bidding wars on houses, no matter where you go.
I'm talking about major metropolis. Look at Cali. People are. Do you know how many people have had to undersell their mansions? Way undersell their fucking houses. Huge. Look at the Florida condos in Florida.
Well, I wish Connecticut would come down, because I want to.
Look at New York. Look at New Jersey. Oh, look at Canada as well. Like, I know this for a fact.
Well, New Jersey doesn't count. No, New Jersey is a shithole, so that doesn't count. New York, I can understand why it's expensive. It's always been expensive in New York.
Right now, for real estate, it's actually a good time if
Make
people
no
got
claims
funds
about
to
that.
purchase. It's not a good time.
So,
I wish I could, things would go down here where I am. It's just not, even in the surrounding towns I'm looking at, and it's like, you might find 5 or 10 houses on the market.
Supply issue, is it?
A major supply issue. And the crazy thing is, why don't you fucking build new houses then?
Because they don't
Why
have
don't you build a house then?
Do you not understand the permit issue here? That's the biggest
like I
construction
said,
business and builders.
Noble
The amount of
has
loopholes,
spaces like
how many
this.
loopholes, whatever, jump so many hoops and shit you have to go through to get so many permits approved from whichever county, city, whatever. It's bizarre. And all the other issue is, like COVID and whatnot, yes, interest rates are low, then they spiked up, then it's the cost of carrying that load, borrowing, and then some builders pre-sale, some don't.
That's the problem, and that's why they don't. So, General, you asked what building.
And welcome to Luna, welcome.
But if you're gonna have a builder build 500 or 1,000 homes, they are taking on a huge risk. If they could only sell 80% of them, they might go bust. So they,
I'll get back to you.
Because the markets are so volatile.
Isn't there a hobby where like
a lot of them don't want to take on that risk?
Have sex with mom at a tent or something.
They'd rather go and invest their money. You know what's really hot right now? Mobile home parks.
Oh yeah.
And investment companies are buying them up like crazy.
Why are they hot?
Because
people can't afford housing, so that's the second best thing.
Yeah, and that's true. People can't, and you get a mobile home and you park it there, and you pay a few $100s a month, and
they're better. Sometimes they can be better than flats, because flats are obviously illegal.
Edward, it's pretty expensive in Los Angeles, these mobile homes, right?
Yeah, Los Angeles.
You gotta buy that mobile home for $100,000 or $150,000, right? Or $80,000 for 3-bedroom, plus the freaking rent.
Or reparations.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting, because legally, right? That is, I think, which one of the biggest rejectors, or however, the defiers of reparations. It's going to set a legal precedence if we say that we can put this amount of money on this amount of harm, and it's going to bring. Okay, well, fine. Don't put an amount of money in it. Let's just time scale. Let's just let Black Americans be completely. They have no need to pay into any type of taxation. No taxes, federal taxes, fuck it. No, Black Americans do not. If they got pushed out that amount, I think that's measurable, and that's simple. That's simple. That you could. I think that's. You know what I mean? What do you think about that, Sol? Right? We could quantify that, because that's something that's quantifiable and it's measurable. Boom.
I think a great recent historical example would be the Cobell
versus Salazar case that was settled in 2012.
Do you want to elaborate? I'm not familiar with that.
Go on.
It was a federal case with the about 500,000 Native American recipients for land mismanagement, for land lease payments, and other mineral extraction. And I believe the total case ended up being something like $3.4 billion in reparations, which for 500,000 people was between $1,000 to $2,000 for land mismanagement from 1887 to the present.
Kevin, did you want to add anything to that?
Oh no, I'm just really listening. No, I won't.
Yeah, okay. Dominic and Jack Griffith, welcome to the stage. What's going on?
I'm against reparations.
So am I.
Me too.
Oh. All right. Let's get it on.
Yeah, to the person in the chat that said, hey, what about the Jews and the Japanese that got their reparations? Well, the Jews got their reparations from Germany, and that's Germany's business, how they settled that. The Japanese got reparations from the U.S., but it was the actual internees that got the reparations. And so in 1988, that was paid out at $20,000 per internee. So, if you could show me somebody that was a slave and show me somebody that was a slave owner, I think you'd have a really good case for reparations there. But since I wasn't a slave owner and you're not a slave, stay out of my pocket.
Hey, I'm curious, Mojo, was that for false imprisonment? The American Japanese. Do you remember?
I would I would say that it was for the fact that they were citizens and they were detained and not allowed due process.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I sort of recall.
So Roger, you're only in support of the support of theft in your pockets when you're okay with it.
Well, that's an interesting thing to say. It's totally took out of context what I said, but I don't know if that's a listening skill problem or
Probably.
if you just have...
Well, this is my thing. You said stay out of my pockets. So my point is, right?
Yeah, stay out of my pockets.
Right. Reparations would be done through what, likely?
Well, first of all,
Taxation is the answer. Taxation. So taxation, right?
Hold
Do you support taxation? That was my point.
Jesus Christ. Okay. Have you taken your medication tonight? Because I am happy to have a conversation with a medicated B-Master, but an unmedicated one, I'm not ready.
Our taxes go to bullshit anyways.
That's a low blow, Roger. Do you want to respond though, or you just want to deflect?
I don't even know what you said. You were busy speaking while I was speaking.
So you said, stay out of my pockets. I'm against reparations. The idea is likely reparations are going to...
Can you please just let him finish? Go ahead, Roger.
He was literally letting her finish.
Beamer, go ahead. And pockets, we're not talking about you.
I was going to say, like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, okay. Mojo doesn't want to get inside pockets, as far as we're aware at this point. Beamer, yeah, okay. Beamer.
Wait, hold on to the person in the chat that said this conversation is taking a bad turn. Why is it taking a bad turn if there's people that are pro and anti reparations? Why is that a bad turn?
Busy bee. Because you're being rude when you're talking to people and calling people names. And that's.
Who did I call a name? Who did I call a name?
Roger, you fucking retard.
Who did I call a name?
I'm not going to go into back and forth with you. You just turn the vibe of this conversation totally to a different way, and I'm just commenting on that.
Okay, so Lauren,
I'm saying you did. Okay, that's it.
Who did I call a name?
It was an inference about me taking my meds, I think.
Did I call you something outside of your name?
What difference does it make if it's a name or the other words that you said that were insulting? I don't speak to people without their medication. Come on, man. Well, you don't need to be told that that's bullshit.
Got it. So you think it's okay for her to interrupt me, and for me to say that I'm willing to have a conversation if she can have some fucking self-control? You think that I'm the problematic one in that situation?
I don't need to defend that woman. She can speak for herself. So, you know, this is a back and forth. This is a back and forth platform. People sometimes interrupt, but they don't.
Oh, you're correct. I have no idea what this platform is all about. Please school me on what this platform is all about, Lauren. You must be the OG.
He's being dumb, and Lauren, it's okay. I appreciate it. I was being. I might have got a little excited, but thank you. I appreciate you, Lauren. Thank.
I want to hear what she got to say. I think she was going somewhere.
I'm down with it too. I think she was also going somewhere. But I want to point out, I'm also against reparations. So instead of coming off of the mic and yelling at other people, you could just bring that energy here, and I'll tell you why I'm against reparations.
So I always wondered, when it comes to reparations, like when it comes to the justification of it, like why people do it, it's because of their ancestors that suffered. I always wondered that because when my mom passed away, I sued the fuck out of the doctor's office because they neglected a lot of things that came to her health. And of course, there was a settlement, they paid me for it. Of course, I got money. So wouldn't that be like the same thing? Your family suffered for some shit, so you're trying to get some compensation for it. I always thought that was, interesting that people will sue because their kid died somewhere, somehow, but getting reparations because your ancestors went through shit is different, so.
So how far back can we go on this reparations thing? Can descendants of the Moors kindly give me some money for what they did to my people in Portugal?
I mean, I think
if you got a case, Roger, you better get that money, bro.
Yeah, are there a bunch of those ancestors that are complaining with evidence that there's a lot of negative things that are happening in society, and they're disproportionately being affected, and they're asking for help? I mean, I think that would be, but obviously that's another deflection.
Not deflection at all. My people had blonde hair and blue eye until the Moors came through Portugal. And so, I think I have a legitimate grievance. The reason I don't complain about it, though, is because there's nothing that I could do about it. And there's nobody still living today that was part of that shenanigans that I would be able to file a suit against. This idea that we're supposed to file a grievance after the fact, it's fucking weird.
Yeah, you motherfuckers are just so foul that y'all don't want to see black people with nothing.
Hold on. Why somebody would speak over me is fucking crazy.
This is in Portugal.
Okay, so you're anti-Portuguese. Great. What a bit. It's funny how you guys don't want to hear other opinions. It's hilarious. I'll just go back on mute and I'll let you guys talk over each other. Fuck.
No, let's be real. Every single ethnicity on this earth has either been enslaved or has owned slaves. If black Americans are to get reparations for slavery, what about the white people who died in the Civil War to end slavery? Shouldn't they also get reparations? And furthermore, where is this money coming from? It's coming from taxes. Who pays taxes? Me. So I have to pay you for work that you've never done? That's ridiculous. This whole idea of
Dominic, hold on one second. I agree with you, but I want to take it to the extreme. I want to understand why we don't get a lawyer to represent the alligators and the crocodiles and say that the exploitation of dead dinosaurs in the form of oil, that there should be reparations paid to alligators and crocodiles. I think it's unjust.
Dinosaurs are
another deflection.
Yeah, all of it is deflection. When it comes to black people, you make mockery, but white people right now are benefiting from free labor all the way back. But you don't have a problem.
I don't want to pay white people reparations.
But you still getting. But why?
I don't want to pay white people reparations.
So should Jews still be getting money?
I don't want to pay white people reparations.
But I just asked you a question. Should we still be sending money to Israel?
I'm against foreign aid.
That's moving.
Hold on. No, Dominique, hold on. He asked me a question. I'm against foreign aid. So go.
So we shouldn't be giving them zero, right?
I don't want to give any country, any corporation.
Oh, no. I asked you a specific question.
I'm going to be very specific. I don't want to give any company, any corporation, or any individual money. Okay. I don't think that I don't care what their grievance is, unless it's something. If they're alive and the offender is alive, then take it into a court of law, fight your fight, and get your money. But if you're
how America was established, so you know.
Yeah, I do now.
You know how America was established. It was established by terrorists, and the terrorism that black people experience from white folks. You're benefiting from that free labor, and not only Jim Crow stuff, redlining, and even to this very day, we're still talking about race and equity because you all had a head start based on free labor. Black people should get money to repair the damage that was done, and it just continues to follow us. We've been behind the damn 8 ball forever. I do fault us on this part. Black people should have been separated from white folks. We should have been created our own nation.
That's enough.
No, that ain't enough because that's our self-reliance. No, let me finish my point. Let me finish my point. No, let me finish my point. No, black people should have been separated from white people to do for self. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad was right, Malcolm was right, Muhammad Ali was right, and Minister Farrakhan is right.
Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, we need to be self-reliant to do for self, not to be against anybody, but to spend time fixing, repairing what's wrong with us. Yeah, we got issues in our community. Yeah, we got problems like anybody else. But it does take a little help for us to do what we need to do for self. And then if we don't do that by then and for an extended amount of time, then you could say, hey, we've done enough for them. But we do need our own territory. We do need our own schools. We need our own banks. We need everything everybody else have. And then you'll see a whole different reality for black people. We did not benefit from integration. Not at all.
All right, that was all bullshit. I want 30 seconds. First of all of this, we need to leave the white man and other. That's bullshit. You understand that all black Americans are mixed. You're all mixed. You got white people in your skin, inside of your blood. And yes, black people have benefited from slavery. This nation has the most black millionaires, the most black billionaires, and the highest standard of living of any black person on the planet Earth is in the United States of America. We live in better than Africans. So all of this, we need to do it for self, man, get the fuck out of here. You understand? Y'all have been saying that bullshit for 100 years. Nobody's preventing you from doing for self. Go do for self. I will land there.
And guess what? What you just said was absolutely insane. See, when you have a slave mentality, I don't know who you are, and what do you...
Hold on, Greg, stop right there. Hold on, and I'm not trying to disrespect you, but Dominique, you didn't hear Greg come off the mic hooting and hollering and screaming at you. Allow him to make his point. He gave you the respect of being able to say what you needed to say from start to finish. Didn't come off his mic once. So allow the man to speak. That's it. You don't have to agree with him. Just allow him to speak. That's all I'm saying. Go ahead, Greg.
All I can tell you is that it is a formula that has worked in real time. Everyone that has promoted to do for self, even those who were in prison and made some bad decisions, when they joined the nation, got cleaned up, changed their whole trajectory, their whole mindset about family, community, and self. So you can't tell me that that doesn't work, being a nation within a nation. If you tell me that by just looking at a few millionaires, that right there shows progress for black people. Have you looked at the poverty rate? Have you really looked at the conditions in certain communities, like third world communities? Have you really went around America just to see in the metropolitan areas how it is a big gap between the black-white wealth gap? Do you really know what that is? It's 50 cents. It's actually 15 cents on the dollar.
Sir,
there's plenty of studies.
15 cents on the dollar.
There's plenty of studies that will show you.
I think based on what you're saying, Ben, through it too, it's kind of funny. I'm thinking like black people have to knock on the door of a white person in order to get the reparations. So they have to. I think they have to read a book, write an essay, go and knock on a person's front door and say, "Okay, give me my reparation. We're going to do direct reparations, no government intervention."
Race is a lie. I was in the Nation of Islam back in 1976. Back in 1976, I served Louis Farrakhan personally. All of what you're saying is bullshit.